Hello everyone and welcome back to the Dork Side. I'm the Dork on the road and these are my top favorite, most important dual sport modifications. I'm the Dork on the road and I want to be your internet riding buddy, so please consider subscribing. Dual sport bikes are amazing, very capable right out of the box. They can go on the street, they can go in the woods, they can do anything you want them to do. But if you want to get into anything beyond, say, a gravel logging road, then it's a really good idea to modify it and just make it a little bit more capable and better protected for the type of riding that you want to do. So here is a list of the mods that I do right away to any new dual sport bike that you should consider for your dual sport. I'm going to run down the most important dual sport mods, but also a few sort of less important, more luxury, but still worth considering. And wherever possible, I'm going to try to give you the cheapest quality option that I am aware of. And in most cases, that's going to be the Tusk stuff from Rocky Mountain. So there's a lot of Tusk stuff on this list because I know a lot of you like to save money but still get quality products. There's also a link in the description to my full dual sport mods page on Rocky Mountain's site so you can see examples of everything that I'm talking about and click through and purchase. And if you do, it supports the channel at no extra cost to you, so it's a win-win. So for me, the most important thing to do when I get a new bike, particularly a dual sport bike, is protect my investment. And to do that, you need to buy armor and protection for your bike. First thing that hits the ground in most crashes, tip-overs, drops, off-road, especially the slow speed stuff, is the end of your handlebars. And one of the most vulnerable things on your bike in that situation, easily breakable, is your levers. So I always start with handguards for my bike. I have the Tusk D-Flex Pros on my Grom. I really like them. I've also got the Acerbis X Factors on my DRZ. Those are fine. I've been really happy with the Tusk ones though, and that's probably what I'll go with from now on because they're really sturdy and easy to put on. Another essential piece of protection for your bike is a skid plate. Many bikes come with a stock skid plate, but like my CRF 250L, it's plastic and thin, or the DRZ, it's too narrow to give you a lot of protection. You want one that is sturdy, but also wide enough to protect like your water pump and all the things that kind of stick out to the side of your bike. So I always upgrade my skid plate. I'm a big fan of the Flatland Racing skid plates. Had one of those on my CRF. Tusk also makes skid plates that are pretty good quality, so that's worth considering. Radiator guards are also a good idea, and they really serve two purposes. They protect the radiator from rocks being flung up into it. They also protect the radiator from being smashed on the sides if you were to drop your bike on a rock, and so those are very valuable. The good ones wrap around your radiator to protect it from being crushed, and the really good ones have a bar that goes across the back side to keep it from also accordioning in or out if you hit something really hard at a high speed. So I've got the Duval Racing radiator guard on my DRZ. I like it a lot. Tusk makes radiator guards too. I've got the Alt Rider radiator guards on my Africa Twin. Those are pretty good. So radiator guard, definitely worth considering. And it's a thing that people forget, I think, because it's hard to see. People forget that that's important to have. Another important kind of protection mod is folding brake and shift lever. Your shift lever can snap off or get bent all to hell. And so it's nice to have one that bends when you go down, when the weight of the bike comes down on it. And the same for your brake pedal. You can get brake pedals that have hinges like that. So that'll absorb much of the impact. And most stock shift levers and rear brake pedals don't come with that. Some of them do, but a lot don't. So definitely look into that. That's worth investing in, and they're not expensive. Tusk makes a good one that I've used. Lots of other options. Okay, that's it for protection, but another essential sort of body modification that I would recommend looking into when you get a new dual sport is foot pegs. Every dual sport I've ever owned has come with kind of narrow, sort of inadequate foot pegs. Some of them have rubber, which you really don't want because when it gets wet or muddy and you're riding off-road, it makes your foot peg really slippery. I always recommend looking into a wider, upgraded foot peg. I'm a big fan of the IMS Super Stocks because they're quality. They're about twice as wide as a stock foot peg, and you can get them about half the price of the other upgraded foot peg options I've seen out there. They also make a Super Sport version, which is what I have on my Africa Twin. Those are good. Tusk makes some good options. The thing that I would encourage you to avoid though is if you search for upgraded foot pegs, you're going to find ones that are for some reason $35, and those are usually sort of a cheap aluminum. The quality on those is hit or miss at best. Duck Fan put those on his Africa Twin and he's missing a few of the teeth already. They just don't last. They're not great quality. So I would go with at least the Super Stocks or something around that $65, $70 range, but you can pay upwards of $200 for good pegs. There's a lot of options out there from Fastway and other places, but definitely upgraded foot pegs is something I would recommend to you. I'm a big fan of the wider base for when I'm standing up. Just feels more stable planted. I feel like I've got more control of the bike. Another thing to consider right away when you get a new dual sport is tires. Stock tires on dual sports are generally designed to be quiet. They're designed for good test rides. They're usually pretty smooth and easy riding on the road, and they just get the cheapest ones they can. So whatever they can buy in bulk that kind of looks like a knobby tire or looks kind of aggressive but will actually be pretty easy to ride on the road seems to be what they get. The IRC tires that come on the Hondas or the Deathwings that come on the Suzukis and the Yamahas are not great off-road tires if you're going to do anything more than a gravel road. If you're just going to ride on the highway and hit up a gravel road, you're probably fine with those for a while. But if you want to hit mud or trails, deep sand, anything like that, I always recommend upgrading your stock tires. It's the best, cheapest, and biggest impact mod you can do early on to your dual sport bike. A few dual sport tires that I like that have worked well for me. There's the very popular Pirelli MT21 front and the Dunlop D606 rear. That's what I had on my CRF. That was a good combo. That's probably a 70-30. 70-30, 75-25 tire, so you can still ride on the highway with them. They last pretty well, but you've got decent traction off-road. I have the Trackmasters, the Kenda Trackmasters on my DRZ, and I know a few other people that run them too. We've all been very happy with them. I've got a few thousand miles on mine, and they're not showing much wear, but that's more of a 90-10 tire. It's a pretty aggressive off-road tire, works great in the sand, the mud, everything. And another great option is the Tusk D Sport tires, which are newer. They're inexpensive, and I haven't used them personally, but I've heard nothing but good things from people that have used them, so I'd recommend looking into those. People seem to really like them. They find them comparable to the D606 for about half the price, so those are neat. And while you're working on tires, two other things to consider putting in that I really like: rim locks, especially if you've got a bike with a lot of horsepower, because when you air down those tires for the deep mud and sand and stuff, if you've got too much horsepower to the rear wheel, the rim can spin inside the tire and shear off your valve stem. You don't want that, so you can't run super low PSI unless you have a rim lock that'll keep that tire from spinning no matter what. So I like those. I like the Motion Pro light locks. They're cheap and light, so it makes it easier to balance the tire, or sometimes you don't have to at all. And also heavy-duty tubes while you're in there is worth the time to put them in. They can be a few times thicker than a stock tube. Helps prevent pinch flats, things like that. Just put a little baby powder or something in there while you're at it so they can move a little bit freely inside the tire. Pro tip. So that's it for what I would call essential mods. Here's a few recommended mods. The first one that I like to have right away is luggage. Tank bag for sure, or if you're super minimalist, you don't want a tank bag in your way, you can run like the Giant Loop Zigzag handlebar bag and the Buck and Roll tank bag. Those are way out of your way, but still have room for your phone, your wallet, your keys, all that stuff. For day trips, I like to use my Giant Loop Mojave saddlebags or the Tusk Traverse saddlebags. And for longer trips, if you want to go moto camping or do multi-day trips off of your dual sport bike, the Coyote saddlebag, the Great Basin saddlebag from Giant Loop, those are worth considering. The Excursion and the Traverse bags from Tusk are cool and worth looking at. So you'll find all those on my Rocky Mountain ATV Dual Sport Mods page, so you can take a look at all the different configurations. There's lots of options there, but I personally think luggage is definitely worth considering. You can wear a backpack, and people do, but I like to get that weight off my back. I'm less tired, and also if I crash, I don't have pointy tools or heavy things in my backpack that's crashing with me that I'm gonna land on or it's gonna land on me. I like to get as much weight off my back as possible. I only put water and other soft things in my backpack, put everything else in saddlebags, tank bag, and other bags on the bike. Also worth considering, one of my favorite mods, but I wouldn't call it essential, is the double take folding mirrors. Those are so cool. I run them on every bike. Fold them out of the way when you're on the trail. They bend up and out of the way if you get it to a drop. They're indestructible, have a lifetime guarantee. Those are badass. Upgrading the seat on a dual sport is definitely something worth considering, because dual sport seats tend to have the softness of a 2x4. I have a seat concept seat on my DRZ, love that thing. I don't think I'll ever have a dual sport again without a seat concept seat. It's just that much more comfortable and I can ride all day, so upgraded seat is worth considering. Rear rack for your bike if you want to run a tail bag or put camping gear back there, or just strap your backpack down, or like a Possibles pouch or something with your tire changing kit. That's really cool to have. Bar risers. I love my bar risers. It makes it easier to stand up on the bike. You can get really, really expensive ones like the Rocks risers, or you can go more inexpensive but still effective. I have Tusk risers on both my Grom and my DRZ, and I'm pretty happy with them, and they're like $30. And some people like to rock a bigger gas tank. So one of the biggest complaints, one of the first complaints about dual sports, especially if it's your only bike, is they have limited fuel capacity. 2 gallons is about the standard, which is not going to get you very far. So if you want to do longer rides on your dual sport, an upgraded gas tank from Safari or a Chairbeast is worth considering. Those are pretty popular, so worth checking out. There is a link in the description to my dual sport mods page on Rocky Mountain ATV with lots of examples of everything I'm talking about here, so check that out, please. There's also a link to my ADV bike mods and my favorite riding gear. There's separate pages for each of those on Rocky Mountain's site, so thanks to Rocky Mountain for setting those up and getting it all kind of collected in one place. Thanks for watching. I hope you have as much fun modifying your dual sport bike as I do. I think it's one of my favorite parts of getting a new bike is what mods am I going to put on it right away, and it's a really good chance to get to know your bike right after you get it and make sure it's set up the way that you want it and as capable and protected as possible. possible. I gotta warn you though that it gets pretty addicting buying and adding mods to your bike, and once you get started, it's really easy to turn around and be like, oh, I've spent as much on these as I did on my motorcycle. So be careful, that's all I'm saying. If you have any questions about dual sport mods or suggestions that I've missed, please leave them in the comments. But for now, and as always, I just want to say thank you very much for watching, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Excellent!
I've also got the Acerbis Ekfak. I've also got the Acerbis...